Have you ever met a man who seemed absolutely irresistible, the kind who walks into a room and instantly draws your attention, not just because he looks good, but because he knows he does? His smile, his voice, the way he says your name, it feels like he's unlocking something deep inside you. He makes you laugh, he listens, he says all the right things. For a while, you start to think, maybe, just maybe, this could be something real. But then something shifts. The same words that once made your heart flutter start to sting a little. His compliments turn into criticism hidden behind a smirk. His sweet talk starts sounding more like control, and you catch yourself wondering, was it always like this? Or did I just not notice before? See? Here's what no one tells you. Some men don't reveal who they are through actions alone. They reveal it through words, tiny comments, offhand jokes. Subtle phrases that, when you look closer, carry the weight of manipulation, disrespect, or emotional distance. And the truth is, sometimes the most dangerous words come from the man who looks you in the eyes and makes you believe he'd never hurt you. He might not raise his voice. He might not slam doors. But his words, they cut deep enough to make you question your worth. Every woman has that moment, the one where her gut whispers something's wrong, but she pushes it aside because she wants to believe the best, because she's already invested, because it's easier to stay hopeful than to face heartbreak. But not anymore. Not you, not today, because once you learn to recognize the warning signs, once you start listening to what a man says when he thinks you're not paying attention, you'll never fall for his act again. You'll stop confusing charm for character. You'll stop calling red flags just his personality. So listen closely, because I'm about to share the 5 phrases, the 5 dangerous things a man can say that should make you walk away immediately. These aren't just random lines. They're subtle signs of control, disrespect, and emotional immaturity. And once you see them for what they are, you'll understand one powerful truth. The most beautiful thing a woman can do is know when to walk away. Ready? Let's begin. Ladies, let's get real about this one, because it's one of the most common phrases emotionally unavailable men use, and it's also one of the most damaging. When a man looks you in the eye and says, "You're too emotional," what he's really saying is, "Your feelings are inconvenient for me." He's not trying to understand you. He's trying to control the conversation. At first, it might sound like a harmless comment. Maybe he says it when you're upset about something he did, or when you're trying to have a serious talk about how you feel. He doesn't yell. He doesn't argue. He just shrugs, gives that cold half smile, and says, "You're overreacting," or "You're too sensitive." And right in that moment, something inside you shifts. You start second guessing yourself. You start wondering if maybe he's right. That's the trap, because the more you question your own emotions, the easier it becomes for him to avoid accountability. Every time you try to express what hurts you, he turns it into your fault. You cry, you're dramatic, you express concern, you're paranoid, you bring up a boundary, you're too much. Ladies, hear me clearly, your emotions are not a weakness, they are your compass. They tell you when something doesn't feel right, when your heart isn't being treated with care, when your needs are being pushed aside. The moment a man invalidates that, he's not protecting the relationship, he's protecting his ego. A man who truly respects you will never shame you for feeling deeply. He'll listen even when it's uncomfortable. He'll hold space for your vulnerability because he understands that emotion is not chaos, it's connection. But a man who says, "You're too emotional," is revealing something about himself, that he's emotionally immature, unequipped, and possibly afraid of intimacy. Think about it. When he labels you as too emotional, what he's really doing is putting distance between you. It's a defense mechanism. He can't meet you at your emotional depth, so he pulls away and makes you feel like the problem. But here's the twist: your ability to feel, to empathize, to love passionately. That's your superpower. It's what makes you magnetic. It's what makes you you. Now, let's talk about how this phrase evolves over time. In the beginning, it's small comments. Then, slowly you stop sharing how you feel because you don't want to be seen as too much. You start holding back. You smile when you want to cry. You say it's fine when it's not, until one day you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You've dimmed your light just to make him comfortable. And that's when you need to remember this truth. Any man who makes you feel like your emotions are a burden is not your safe space. He's your warning sign. Real love doesn't make you suppress your feelings. Real love says, "Tell me what's on your mind." It says, "I don't fully understand, but I'm here to listen." It says, "You matter." So the next time a man tells you you're too emotional, take a step back. Don't argue. Don't try to explain yourself. Just recognize what's happening. He's revealing his emotional limits. And the moment you see that clearly, you have a choice to stay and keep shrinking or to walk away and protect your peace. Because here's the truth. The right man won't be afraid of your emotions. He'll admire them. He'll see your sensitivity as strength, your tears as honesty, your passion as proof that you love with everything you've got. And when you finally meet that man, you'll realize why you had to walk away from the one who said you were too emotional. So no, you're not too emotional. You're just too real for a man who prefers to play pretend. Ladies, this one might sound honest at first. A man looks at you with those sincere eyes and says, I'm just not ready for a relationship right now. And because you're kind-hearted, understanding, and patient, you nod. You tell yourself, maybe he's just healing. Maybe he just needs time. You start believing that if you stay, if you're patient enough, loving enough, supportive enough, he'll eventually be ready. But here's the harsh truth. When a man says he's not ready for a relationship, what he often means is, I'm not ready for a relationship with you. It's not that he's incapable of loving. It's that he doesn't want to love in the way you deserve. He's telling you exactly who he is. But because you see his potential, you ignore the reality. You fall for what he could be instead of who he's actually showing you. And that's how women with the biggest hearts end up getting hurt the deepest. Let's break it down. When a man truly wants you, there's no confusion. He doesn't say, I'm not ready. He says, I want to figure this out with you. He doesn't pull away when things get real. He leans in closer because desire isn't enough. A man who's serious about you will match his desire with effort. The not ready line is emotional protection for him and emotional destruction for you. Because while you're waiting, he's enjoying all the benefits of your presence, your time, your affection, your emotional support, your energy, but without the responsibility of commitment. It's like he wants to play house without ever owning the home. And the longer you stay, the more you teach him that he can have you without choosing you. And here's the deeper truth men know what they're doing when they say it. They know it keeps you hooked, hoping, believing that one day he'll come around. But ask yourself this, why would a man who's not ready for a relationship still text you every night? Why would he still want your body, your attention, your energy? Because he's ready for connection, but not commitment. He's ready for comfort, but not consistency. And you, being the beautiful, emotionally intelligent woman you are, start to justify it. You tell yourself, he's been hurt before, or he's scared to love again. You start lowering your expectations in the name of empathy. But remember, your empathy should not become your excuse to accept emotional breadcrumbs. Let me be honest, a man who truly values you will never risk losing you by saying, I'm not ready. He'll make himself ready, because when the right woman walks in, something changes in him. Suddenly, the timing is right. The fear disappears. The effort begins. So when a man says he's not ready for a relationship, believe him. Don't try to fix him. Don't try to wait it out. You are not a therapist. You are not a maybe someday. You are a woman who deserves a man who is sure. And I know it's hard. Walking away from someone you care about feels like tearing out a piece of yourself, but staying for someone who's uncertain will slowly erase who you are. You'll find yourself trying harder, giving more, hoping endlessly, and all the while he's doing less. So the moment he says, I'm not ready for a relationship, don't argue, don't convince, just smile and say, thank you for being honest, then walk away with your dignity intact. Because while he's not ready for a relationship, somewhere out there is a man who's praying for a woman just like you, and he's ready. The truth is simple. Ladies, love should never leave you waiting. The right man doesn't make you guess. He chooses you clearly and completely. Because when a man is truly ready, you won't need to chase him. He'll already be standing beside you. Ladies, let's pause for a second and really unpack this one. Because the moment a man says, my ex was crazy, your guard should go up, not down. At first, it sounds harmless. Maybe even a little funny. He's trying to make you feel like you're the safe one, the normal one, the woman who finally understands him. But here's the truth. When a man calls every woman before you crazy, he's not revealing something about them, he's revealing something about himself. Let's be clear, not every man who talks about his past is toxic, but when he uses that word crazy with that smug little grin or that tired sigh, what he's really doing is rewriting history to make himself look like the victim. And that's your first red flag, because relationships don't fall apart because one person suddenly went insane. They fall apart because something was broken between two people. Now, here's the sneaky part. When he says it, he's planting a seed in your mind. You start to believe that his ex must have been dramatic, clingy, jealous, or unstable. And you, wanting to prove you're different, start walking on eggshells to make sure you're not that kind of woman. You avoid bringing up problems. You downplay your needs. You let things slide because you don't want him to ever see you as the crazy one too. But what if his ex wasn't crazy? What if she was just reacting to being ignored, gaslighted, or disrespected? What if she was emotional because she cared? What if she cried because she was tired of being unheard? Suddenly, you realize that crazy might just be another word for woman he couldn't control. See, labeling a woman as crazy is a form of emotional manipulation. It allows a man to avoid responsibility for his behavior. If his ex was crazy, he doesn't have to admit he was neglectful, dishonest, or unfaithful. It's easier to say she was unstable than to say I broke her trust. And guess what happens next? When conflict arises between you two, when you finally express something that bothers you, he might say, well, you're starting to sound like my ex. And that, ladies, is your sign to run. Because what he's doing is gaslighting you, making you doubt your feelings by comparing you to someone he's already discredited. A mature man doesn't tear down the women who came before you. He takes accountability. He can say, things didn't work out between us and we both made mistakes. That's emotional maturity. That's self-awareness. But when a man talks about every ex as if she was a walking nightmare, believe me, you're not the exception. You're just the next story he'll tell. You deserve a man who doesn't need to insult someone else to make you feel special. You deserve a man who's healed, who's learned, who can talk about his past with grace, not bitterness. Because a man who still calls his ex crazy is a man who hasn't done the work to understand why his relationships failed. So when you hear that line, my ex was crazy, don't laugh it off, don't take the bait, and don't try to prove you're different. Just smile and remember this truth. A woman who's truly self-aware, emotionally grounded, and confident doesn't compete with ghosts. She recognizes a red flag when she sees one. Walk away from the man who disrespects women from his past, because if he can disrespect her, it's only a matter of time before he disrespects you. And when he realizes you're not falling for his little victim story, that's when he'll finally understand that strong women don't fear being called crazy. They fear wasting time on men who can't handle real women. Ladies, when a man says, you're lucky I'm with you, pause right there, because that's not confidence speaking. That's arrogance wearing a crown it didn't earn. It's one of those subtle phrases that might sound playful or teasing at first, but underneath it lies something darker. A man trying to convince you that he's the prize and you're just the one who got lucky. Let's be honest, in the beginning, it might even sound a little flattering. He says it with a smirk, his arm around your waist. His tone light and charming, you laugh it off. Maybe you even agree playfully, but slowly those words start to change their flavor. They go from being a joke to a reminder that in his mind, he's the one doing you a favor by being in your life. And that's where the imbalance begins. Because when a man truly values you, he doesn't position himself above you. He stands beside you. He doesn't make you feel like you need to earn his love. He makes you feel chosen, appreciated, and respected. But a man who tells you, you're lucky I'm with you, is quietly trying to rewrite your self-worth. He's planting a thought that says, without me, you wouldn't be this happy. Without me, you wouldn't shine this bright. That's emotional control in disguise. The truth is, any man who truly knows his worth doesn't need to remind you of it. And any man who reminds you that you're lucky to have him probably doesn't bring as much to the table as he wants you to believe. Because real kings don't announce their crowns, they act with grace, respect, and gratitude for the woman who stands with them. Let's decode what he's really saying. When a man says, you're lucky I'm with you, he's testing how much you'll tolerate. He's checking if you'll laugh it off, accept the insult wrapped in charm, and let it slide. And when you do, he learns something, that he can chip away at your confidence little by little without you noticing. Soon, it becomes a pattern. You start catching small digs in conversations, little remarks about how no one else would put up with you, or how you're too much, but handles it. He frames his presence as a gift, his patience as a sacrifice. And before you know it, you're walking on emotional eggshells again, grateful just to have him, when in reality, he should be the one grateful to have you. Because here's the truth: a woman who gives her heart, her loyalty, her care, and her softness is never the lucky one. She's the blessing. A secure man knows this. He doesn't compete with you. He celebrates you. He doesn't measure your worth against his ego. He admires the way you make his world better. The right man will look at you and say, I'm the lucky one, not because he's weak or self-deprecating, but because he recognizes your value. Now, let's talk about the psychology behind that phrase. A man who says, you're lucky I'm with you, often struggles with insecurity. Deep down, he fears being replaced, so he flips the narrative. He makes you feel like the one who could lose something precious, when in reality, he's terrified that you'll realize your own power. And that's exactly what you need to remember. Your worth isn't defined by his presence. It existed long before he arrived, and it'll shine long after he's gone. So when he tries to make you feel lucky, to have him flip the script because you are lucky, but not in the way he thinks. You're lucky that you see through manipulation. You're lucky that your heart is strong enough to walk away from someone who confuses control with confidence. And when you do walk away, he'll finally see the truth he tried to hide from himself, that the real prize was never him, it was you. So no, sweetheart, you're not lucky to have him. He's lucky you even looked his way. When a man looks you in the eye and says, you're too emotional, it may sound like he's simply stating an opinion, but the truth is far deeper and far more dangerous than it appears. This phrase is not just about your feelings, it's about control. It's a subtle way of dismissing your emotions, belittling your experience, and invalidating your very humanity. Let's be honest, emotions are what make us human. They are signals from the heart that something matters. When you express sadness, frustration, or even joy, you're showing depth, empathy, and connection. But when a man uses "you're too emotional" as a weapon, he's not trying to understand you, he's trying to silence you. This phrase often shows up in arguments or conversations where you're standing your ground, expressing hurt or demanding respect. Maybe you tell him that something he said made you uncomfortable. Maybe you call out a lie, a betrayal, or a cold behavior. Instead of taking responsibility or listening to your feelings, he cuts you off with a quick jab. You're overreacting, you're too sensitive, or you're just emotional. And in that moment, what happens? You begin to question yourself. You start to think, maybe I am overreacting. You second guess your intuition, suppress your feelings, and slowly lose your voice. That's the real danger, because emotional invalidation is one of the earliest signs of manipulation in relationships. It's how emotional abusers and narcissists gain control. They make you doubt your own feelings so that they can rewrite the story and make themselves look like the victim. Here's the truth. If a man genuinely cares about you, he will never use your emotions against you. Instead, he'll respect them. He'll ask, why are you feeling this way? Or, what can I do to make it better? Healthy men understand that emotional women are not weak. They are strong enough to feel deeply, to communicate, and to love fully. But men who are emotionally unavailable or insecure see your emotions as a threat. They can't handle confrontation, vulnerability, or accountability, so they label your feelings as a problem. That way, they don't have to face their own shortcomings. So the next time someone tells you that you're too emotional, pause and really look at what's happening. Are you being emotional, or are you just reacting normally to being hurt, disrespected, or ignored? There's a big difference between being irrational and being expressive. And too often, women are punished for simply being expressive. If he constantly dismisses your feelings, if he rolls his eyes when you open up, or if he mocks you for crying, that's not love, that's emotional cruelty. You deserve a man who listens when you speak, not one who makes you feel guilty for feeling. Walk away from any man who makes you ashamed of your emotions, because your emotions are not flaws, they're your compass. They tell you when something isn't right. And if a man is uncomfortable with that truth, he's not looking for a partner, he's looking for control. Real love doesn't silence your emotions, it welcomes them. It doesn't shame you for feeling deeply, it admires you for it. So don't dim your light or shrink your voice just to make a man comfortable. The right man won't be scared of your emotions, he'll be honored to hold space for them. Because at the end of the day, being too emotional only threatens the kind of man who's emotionally unavailable himself. The man who truly values you won't say those words. He'll say, I understand, If a man says, "You're too emotional," walk away. You're not too emotional. You're just with someone too empty to appreciate your depth. So here's the truth. When a man says things like, "You're lucky to have me," you're overreacting. "Oh, no one else would want you," "You're too emotional," or tries to twist your feelings into guilt or silence, he's showing you exactly who he is. Believe him the first time. Don't wait for him to change, because men who truly respect you don't play mind games to keep control. They don't dim your light to make theirs shine brighter. You deserve a love that feels safe, a love that allows you to speak without fear, to feel without judgment, and to grow without limits. Don't settle for someone who makes you question your worth. Walk away, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to choose peace over pain, clarity over confusion, and respect over manipulation. Remember, walking away doesn't mean you lost something. It means you finally stopped giving energy to someone who was draining your soul. And every step you take away from someone toxic brings you closer to the person who will see your heart, your strength, and your emotions, and love them all. So, if you're ready to step into your power, start by protecting your energy, know your worth, set your boundaries, and never let anyone make you feel like your emotions are a burden. You are not too much. You're just enough for the right person who will never make you question that.